Welcome to another episode of Flick Filter. I'm Big Diesel.
And I'm the professor.
And today we're talking about Challengers. Starring Zendaya, and I don't know the two other guys, no offense.
Mike Faist and Josh O'Connor.
I'm glad you knew.
Yeah.
And then the director is...
Luca Guadagnino.
Yeah, I'm not good.
He also directed Bones and All, as well as Call Me By Your Name. Those are two of his other pretty big movies. He has a couple others, but those are the more recent, pretty big ones. And I think he has another movie coming out soon.
So this movie is about Zendaya, who plays this tennis player, who basically has two guys kind of going after her. And that's pretty much it's just basically, it is about tennis. I think it's more about the relationship. Am I right about that?
Yeah, you're right about that.
It's more than just tennis itself.
Yeah.
But it is very interesting. Whether you like love triangles or not, this is still a good movie. But it just depends on how you feel about love triangles, I feel like. Mm-hmm. There is some nudity and there is some cringe moments. But other than that, I think this is a good movie.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Well, I kind of wanted to give the full context for the love triangle, because the way the movie starts off. Well, first it jumps in different time.
Oh my gosh!
So
back and forth.
Was
that purposely because it was like tennis? I know there was a lot of tennis.
Yeah, it's a lot of metaphors for tennis, like metaphors for like.
Because
love,
honestly,
sex, like there was a lot of.
Honestly, because what did you say the director said about tennis, and there was some quote that you said.
Oh, about how he came up with the idea?
Yeah.
Well, this was the writer of the movie, which context for that. So the writer for this movie is the husband of the woman who wrote and directed Past Lives, which is another movie that has a sort of a love triangle aspect to it. So there's definitely layers to the situation. But the writer the guy who wrote Challengers, he's mentioned in some interviews before that he got the idea when he was watching the U.S. Open final from, I believe, 2019. It was between Serena and Naomi Osaka, whichever year that was. I think it was 2019. He was watching it like on TV, I think, and he looked at it from the perspective of somebody who's either a coach or significant other was watching it from the crowd. And I think there was a moment in the match where I think Serena was like accused of like getting coaching, because I think at the time you couldn't get coached like during your match, and there was a whole drama behind that. But he felt like what kind of sparked the idea for this movie, for Challengers, was this whole concept of like you're watching a match, and what if there's somebody out there who cares as much about you winning a tennis match as you do. So whether that's your coach or a significant other. And so then it kind of built that idea from like, oh, what if there's somebody else watching and they also care, they care as much about you winning, and then what if somebody else cares about that person, and the idea for the movie was kind of just sparked by that one scenario. So I could definitely kind of relate to that as somebody that's written, things, and I've written a tennis movie as well.
Yeah,
short film.
Check it out.
Yeah, not trying to plug that here, but
Right.
But yeah, so that kind of set the foundation for what sparked this whole concept, and I thought that was pretty cool because of the way the movie opens, it literally opens with the two male leads at this tennis match, and it's a challenger event, which is a smaller event, and it's
which is probably why it's called
challengers. Exactly, that's why, and it's there's two players that are in very different positions or different places in their lives as players, yet they're still meeting at this one particular event. And then also Zendaya's character, who's Tashi, she's also there watching this unfold. And initially you're just watching this match, but then everything, as the movie kind of unfolds, it lets you know what led up to this point. And I thought it did a really good job showing you that, even though it does jump around in time. And at first, I will say it was kind of confusing, but when I did see the movie a second time, things made a lot more sense. And there were certain moments that definitely paid off, that were like, oh, this thing was mentioned at this point in the timeline, and then it gets mentioned somewhere else, and then I definitely felt like it was really well done in that regard.
Yeah. Well, I just would rather a linear story, but I do appreciate how a lot of the shots that they were playing, whether they were playing on there was different shots that were like crazy, where he was like, they had to use a drone or something where you were just looking down on the two. He played around with a lot of good camera shots, and then sometimes you're the tennis ball and it's going towards, and it was different cool shots like that. Like, I feel like was very creative and very inventive, and there was a lot of stuff going back and forth. You're looking at people going like this, going like that. It was a really cool movie. But there's just some stuff that kind of was cringe about it. But other than that, I think it was a good movie. I think everybody played their part and did a good job. But I think my main nitpick is the bouncing around in the timeline. That's what irked me more than anything.
Yeah.
So what would you rate this?
What would I rate this? So I'm gonna tell you. Initially, when I saw it the first time, I think I gave it a 4.5. When I saw it again, I bumped it up to a 5.
Yeah.
I did. Not that it was bad. Well, I mean, 4.5 is still pretty high. Yeah. I would say that's actually really high in my opinion. But I think even if there's still a couple things I could complain about or critique, but I think just the fact that it was even better the second time is why I bumped it up.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4. Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't really a bad movie. There was some parts that if I did have it on DVD, I'd fast forward. But other than that, like I said, the jumping around in times what aggravated me. Because there were certain times where I was like, what is going on? And then, okay. Because it also doesn't tell, did it tell you when it was back in time? Or did it show?
So it would cut back and forth, but also there were, so I want to say there are certain visual cues to let you know where you were. So Zendaya or Tashi's hair color, it her hair would get shorter or her hair would get lighter as time went on. I think she eventually got highlights versus when she was younger, her hair was I think a little darker. Yeah. And then also with the male characters, I think their hair also changed, and the actor who played Patrick,
who
is the darker haired guy. I think he had more facial hair as the
Gotcha.
as it progressed, and they did that to make him look older. So
Gotcha.
there are different things visually that they did, and even just like I don't know when it went to when they were like teenagers. I think they were like 18, I believe. When it cuts to like the beginning of when they first are meeting Tashi, like they definitely had this like boyish energy back then, and then when it goes to a few years later, you can tell that they're no longer those same kids, and then when they're finally at this stage where it's what 14 13 years later, however many years later, and they're now adults like in their 30s or whatever. Like it definitely feels like that, and I like that it showed, even though I think the time skips could be a little confusing, but when I saw it for a second time, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And I definitely got like, there are certain details that I was able to appreciate a lot more in that, and I think that was a really cool thing, being able to watch it a second time. And from what I heard from other people, like you can definitely, I feel like in watching it, because I think from watching it the first time, there's maybe one character that may seem more like the villain versus the others, whereas like when you watch it again, it's like they all had their flaws in a way without saying too much. And it definitely makes it seem like there's not really one true hero or protagonist or villain. It's just they're all wanting something, and they all have their own motivations, and that's very pretty clear. So
anyways,
post
your comments down below. Let us know if you liked this video. Whatever other movies you want us to do, let us know in the comments. And please like, share, and subscribe.
Yep. Do all
follow us
the things.
on
Follow
socials.
us. Play some tennis. I don't know. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Nah.
I did. I'm playing.
Okay. But see you in the next one.
All right. See y'all.